Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and thanks for tuning in to another battle in Total War Attila. This is a pretty short one. It's only about 6 minutes long, but Attila battles usually are pretty short. It's a 2 vs 2, and it's a subscribers battle replay submitted by James the Great. So let's go ahead and take a look at the army comps. The first army that we're going to take a look at today is the Roman Expeditionary Force, and this is commanded by James the Great, and he's got a good, well-rounded force. The Roman Expeditionary Force is one that you don't see many people playing, so it's nice to see them on the battlefield today. Starting over here with his cavalry, he has 3 units of these Bucellari cavalry, or the Bucellari, and then he has 2 units of the Cataphracti, or Cataphracti. So he has 5 units total, and then with his general making 6, the Bucellari Guard Cavalry. And the general's bodyguard would be this gentleman right here. And I know that I usually have my army comps in slow motion while we take a look at them, but the battle starts off right away, so that's why I'm going to keep it paused for the remainder of the army comps, just so we don't miss anything. But James the Great, he's also bringing 6 units of the Bucellari Guard Axemen, which are a one-handed axe unit. I think that's one of their best units that they can bring. And then he has a unit of Scutatoi here, and then 2 units of these Foederati. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but they're just medium melee infantry, so he has 2 units of them. Then he has 2 units of spears, the Limitane. And finally, in the front lines, he has 4 units of the Fundatores. And that pretty much rounds out his army, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. The second army on the battlefield today is the Alans, and this is commanded by Max Laser. So the Alans are teaming up together with the Roman Expeditionary Force, and it looks like Max Laser's army, pretty much the second that the battle starts, he's kind of withdrawing his forces backwards, so they're all facing the other direction. But he's got 2 identical flanks consisting of 2 Salmatian Cataphracts with 2 of these Agathyrsi warriors, so he has 4 of them in total. And then more towards the center, he has 4 units of Salmatian Band, which is just a cheaper Tier 1 infantry. And then he has some of these Alani swordsmen in the front lines, about 3 units of them. And then he's got 2 more of the Agathyrsi warriors in the center, so 6 total. And he has a noble Alani cavalry unit, and the Alani general as well. And if I was to try and find him... that's probably him right there with the small buckler-style shield. And we've got some camera shake because they, I guess, even though it's paused, it does have the movement of the cavalry registered in the game or something of that nature. But yeah, the Alans, really formidable opponents on the battlefield. They've got some really solid cav and some heavy-hitting infantry as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 2 enemies. And now we look to the Burgundians on the battlefield today, and this is commanded by Habermas87. I hope that I pronounced the name correctly, but he's got a pretty solid force here. He's got some cavalry and a mix of spearmen on the flanks, so he's got 2 units of these barbed lancers, and then 2 units of Germanic spearmen, and he does have a 3rd unit of Germanic spearmen in the center line. He also has 2 units of noble Germanic horsemen, and a unit of Burgundian axemen. Now, if we take a look at his center line, he actually has more Burgundian axemen here with the Burgundian Guard. So 5 units total of the Burgundian axemen, and then the Burgundian Guard is over here, and there would be the general there. So a lot of big, great axes in this battlefield. They can shred front lines very, very easily. And then he has a few archers here, 3 units of the Germanic archers, and then 2 units of Germanic pikemen along with that spear unit that I told you guys about before. And way over here, finally, he has 2 units of royal lancers. And that is it for the Burgundians, so let's go ahead and take a look at the final army. Next up, and the final army in today's battle, is the EBDANIANs, and this one's commanded by Mitterpack 1. And he's got a pretty solid force here as well. He's got 6 units of the Mortimer cavalry, which is the best cavalry that the EBDANIANs can bring. He has 3 on either flank, and the rest of his force is kind of a mismatch. He's got 1 unit of Celtic spearmen, and then 2 units of lower tier Celtic spears. And then he has 2 units of Celtic axe band, 1 on either flank. He has 2 units of Scatha's teachers, 1 on either flank. He's got his general here, the Celtic nobles, and that is the general there. You can tell by that very expensive cape buckle there across his chest. And he also has, I believe, 3 units of the King's Warband, which is the best infantry for EBDANI. And then right in behind, he's got a few units of Celtic warriors, 2 units of them. And then the last unit way over here on the flanks he has is 1 unit of Celtic berserkers, and that rounds out his force there. So without further ado, let's get to the battle. Alright guys, so I still have the battle paused because I want to show you guys where everything is set up before it begins, because it really starts off explosively, like within the first second of the battle. So let's take a look at the man count first off. We've got 4,080 for the Allied force and 3,960 for the enemy force. So Max Laser and James the Great outnumbering their opponents just barely. And we can see the one opponent over here. This is the Burgundian player deployed straight against the Roman Expeditionary Force and the Alani, but we've got the EBDANIs right over here deployed very close to James the Great's side. And the reason I want to have it paused is because I want you to watch how fast the reaction is to the EBDANI deployed on this flank. So we've got 6 minutes and 20 seconds on the flank. So let's go ahead and click play here. And look at that, we've got 5 seconds, maybe less than 5 seconds, and we've already got Max Laser coming over here with his cavalry to help, and an entire readjustment of the flank over here. So both allies aware of the EBDANI player that is Vanguard deployed. That is not a word. In Vanguard deployment, very close to James the Great's lines. So that is kind of the key when you're fighting against the Picts or the EBDANIANs. You have to remember that their entire army can deploy pretty much anywhere on the battlefield except for inside your deployment zone. So always keep that in mind. And if he had waited 5 or 6 more seconds, I think that this would have been much worse than it actually could have been. But we've got the Mortimer cavalry coming in here, but it looks like we've got the Bucellarii, this is the Cataphracti moving in over here. We've got Mortimer cavalry moving in against the spears, but the Cataphracti blocked it over here as well. And the Burgundian player over here just too far away to really lend a hand. He is sending some of his cavalry, but it's basically a 2 versus 1 right now, with the battle line forming very, very quickly. And these 2 units of very cheap spears are kind of soaking up most of the EBDANI forces right now. So a lot of the King's Warband and the Mortimer Cavalry and the Celtic Berserkers moving in against some very cheap units. Meanwhile, over here we've got some of the Bucellarii flanking around, but there's really no need. The Mortimer Cavalry has been destroyed. We've got more Mortimer Cavalry coming in to kind of get that flank under control, but we definitely need to slow this down just a bit. We've got some of the Mortimer cavalry on this flank with the Royal Lances moving in against the Alani. They did charge a unit of Alani swordsmen here, but it's not really too big of a deal. It looks like the units of Elite Salmatian Cataphracts did soak up most of the damage, and the Mortimer cavalry over here is breaking as well. We've got some of the Agathyrsi warriors over here fighting some of the EBDANI spearmen and the cavalry. And we do have some wavering in the front lines against the Scatha's teachers and Celtic warriors, but we've got some of the Bucellarii Guard axemen moving in where their comrades are breaking. And the Scatha's teachers, they just cause a lot of damage in a very short amount of time, so they can be deadly on the battlefield. We got some of the Celtic warriors there as well fighting. The battle lines are still pretty scattered because, as I said, I think the battle line formed within the first 30 seconds of this battle. So very, very quickly. We've got some more of the Cataphractory, I think, moving in against the King's Warband here. It's very depleted. It's probably come back from routing. But we've got some more cavalry moving in against the Fundadores that are being protected currently by the General's bodyguard. But here come the Burgundians finally moving into the battle. But most of Max Laser's army is completely untouched. And it looks like the Burgundians are kind of forming up in a little bit of a defensive position, but he's not giving aid to his allies, so that means that Max Laser's units here are still up against some of the units of the Ebdani, and therefore lending aid. But over here, it looks like they're doing very well. We've got the King's Warband and the Celtic Berserkers that have kind of punched a hole right through the lines here. So let's kind of zoom in and see what's going on. We could probably turn this back to play for a little bit. Take a look at this battle line here. Hold, Romans, hold. But until the battles, they start and end so quickly. But what do we got over here? We've got some Bucellarii charging into the Burgundian axemen that were coming to aid their brothers in arms. So that was a huge hit that we just caught there. Let's see how much damage that actually did. That probably is going to break this unit. Yes, it is. So the Burgundian axemen, a very full unit of 120 men, just broken by that one charge. And it looks like we have some depleted Mormor cavalry over here, but they will not last very long. Thankfully, it looks like the Burgundians are going to be bringing some of their forces forwards, but not before we get another charge onto the backs of the King's Warband here. And I'm seeing a lot of wavering from the Ebdanians. Now, granted, there's only one Scathis Teachers left on the battlefield. Let's see if we can zoom in and see where that one is. I think that's her right there, actually. There is the one unit of Scathis Teachers still left. She is still in melee. But let's focus on what's going on over here on the Burgundian side. So as I said, they formed up pretty much in a defensive line. They've got their pikes down over here with their spears kind of drawing farther back to zone out any flanking. But the balance of power pretty much in Max Laser and James the Great's favor, 2,200 men to 1,900, so about a 200-man advantage. And it looks like the Burgundians are making a withdrawal a little bit farther. It's too bad that Max Laser didn't have some cavalry nearby to charge the backs of these pikemen. But he could even focus these pikemen with some of his slingers or archers because they're very susceptible to ranged attacks. But well done on Mitterpack. It looks like he is actually making some headway over here. We do have the Celtic warriors and Celtic nobles surrounding what's left of the Bucellarii Guard axemen here. And that's pretty much all that James the Great kind of has left on the battlefield. So he just needs to make sure that he's done enough damage to make the difference. Yeah, it looks like some of the Ebdani, the Celtic nobles, so the general is withdrawing from battle at this point. But it looks like some of the slingers are still left, and over here we've got the Burgundian cavalry coming over to engage the Alani general. So this is pretty risky that Max Laser has his general engaged. It's only engaged against Mormor cavalry right now, and they did just break, but if this unit of noble Germanic horsemen comes in, that might be a bit of an issue. But we've got some of the Bucellarii freed up over here. Let's actually put this on play and then zoom into them. Oh, I was hoping that they were going to get a really nice charge onto the general over there who's trying to escape. But it looks like some of the Burgundian infantry got there just in time. And we've got the archers actually focusing down the cavalry here. And how many of this unit is left? Oh, wow, it is evaporated. It's gone. They were broken for sure. But here we go. We've got the Bucellarii Guard cavalry activated, and the the Ebdani general captured in melee over here. He's not going to be able to escape, but we've got the Burgundian general very close by to help out. And yeah, this general trying to make it into melee, but losing almost half of his unit against all of these archers. And we have the pikemen very close behind to defend against any rear charges from that cavalry. Looking at Max Laser's forces, he's activating his elite Salmation Cataphracts. He's easily wrapping up over on this flank. And I think that that is the Abdani general who's dead. Here we go. We're going to get a nice charge onto the back of these Burgundian axemen here. Nice charge. Oh, and that guy has definitely seen some better days. Actually, he probably will not see any further ones. So, yeah, the battle line was just out of control, just facing one way and then like 30 seconds later facing another. But it looks like it's going to be a victory now for Max Laser and James the Great. But James the Great's general barely making it out alive. He is shaken currently. And we got the elite Agathyrsi warriors fighting against the Burgundian axemen. So that's a pretty good matchup because both of them have very high melee attack and melee damage. They're basically a shock unit, both of them, so having them fight. Oh, nice. This guy killing one of the axemen there. I believe that's one of the Salmation warriors. Yeah, but it's been a while since I've done an Attila land battle, and I just forget sometimes how quickly they can finish. Like I said, only 6 minutes there, so let's end the replay and take a look at the results here. So looking, they actually deployed the same amount of forces. The Abdani just deployed a little bit less, so that's why they had less men on the battlefield. But Max Laser, his cavalry getting some decent kills. The Alani swordsman also doing quite well. And his elite Agathyrsi warriors doing excellent. Looking at James the Great here. His Bucellari Guard axeman doing really solid. His general getting decent kills. And look at this unit of cavalry. 447 kills. Well done by them. Looking at the Abdanians. It's pretty solid, I'd say, all around. Most of their units getting decent kills. Even the Mormor cavalry did better than I expected. Because as melee cav, they just don't seem to do as well. And that's a little bit frustrating just due to the fact that that is their best cavalry. But Red Celt made a good point the other day where this is really all that they lack in is cavalry. Could you imagine if the Abdanians or the Picts had excellent shock cavalry with their Vanguard deployed army, which is pretty shock-based in general already? It would just be probably too overpowered. But then Habermas 87, looking at his kills, his Burgundian axemen doing quite well in the short amount of time they were in melee. And the cavalry doing not bad. This one getting 185 kills, which is pretty solid. But I think just overall, Max Laser and James the Great, more of their units got more kills, which is why they won. So thanks very much for submitting this, James, and thanks very much to those of you guys that are watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And as always, I will see you in the next one.